I often try to explain, especially for the guys in the UK, living somewhere and taking a holiday is very different.
Yeah.
Often when you take a holiday, it's like the honeymoon phase.
Yeah.
But when it comes to living, figuring out the bank account, figuring out just your day-to-day life is very different. How would you describe the difference between being somewhere temporarily on a holiday versus actually setting up life there? What are some of the challenges and some of the pros in your experience? Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Making It Abroad podcast. I'm your host Ramel, and I have a special guest today. So this gentleman here, we met just recently. I saw some of his posts online on Instagram, and I saw he was living in Danang, Vietnam. Now Danang has a very, very special place in my heart. We'll talk about that later. But introducing today's guest, Ross.
Yeah, and thank you for having me, Ramel. And I'm happy to be here and to share my experience here in Vietnam.
Thank you, brother. Pleasure, and I'm really, really appreciative of you having me here. So, guys, we're actually in Da Nang right now. As you know, I live in Ho Chi Minh, so I flew in this morning just to meet Ross, and Ross was gracious enough to host me here today. Yeah, so Ross, would you mind giving the people just a quick backstory about you?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for coming to see me and to hang out and to do this interview. And yeah, it's nice to meet you in person.
Pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. So, the backstory of how I got here, or how long I've been here?
In terms of who's Ross, something interesting about yourself.
Okay, well, let's see. I studied foreign language. I studied Spanish in college, and basically graduated and thought I don't want to get into the whole graduate with a bunch of debt, because I'm from the U.S. and when we go to college, there's a lot of people have a lot of debt. So I thought, I know I have this debt, I know I've got to get a job, but I need to explore the world, because I always, I met a lot of people from different countries, so I wanted to, they were always so interesting to me. They were like, just how they got to the US, and I thought, what is the world like outside of my country? And so I began a journey of living abroad. It started in Spain in it started in Argentina. I did a semester even before I graduated university. And then Spain, and it's been pretty much Spain for the last 10 or so years. But then just about 3 months ago, I came to Vietnam because I'd never been to Asia, and it was just, every culture is different, you know, Spain is different than the US. But when you go to Asia, it's like the cultures are so different than the West. And I really wanted to experience that. I wanted to experience a new language, a new culture. I wanted to just see this side of the world, and it's been amazing. So yeah, my base is in Spain now. My girlfriend is from there. We live in the south in Malada, beautiful place. But I just have that sort of sailor's heart, I call it. I like to go out and explore and to just immerse myself in the place and the language, the culture, and the food. And so yeah, that's kind of a little bit of backstory of where I'm coming from.
Amazing. There was something I picked up on there when you said back home in the States you met a lot of people from different places. Now I know America is massive, the geography is very different all over. Where are you from in the States specifically that you was able to meet so many people from different parts of the world?
So I'm from Minnesota. It's in the north central area near Canada. It's really cold in the winter. We get snow up to like here. But I studied in Wisconsin, that's just east of it. And there were international students at the university. So this is like, like Chicago, it's probably 6 hours west of Chicago. But yeah, most of the international students they were in the university, so I met them through there. So people from Hong Kong, Colombia, El Salvador, Cameroon, Belize, and just, I was so fascinated with the fact that they spoke different languages, they ate different foods, they had different sense of humor, they looked different. It was just so interesting to me. And I think because they had to go through so many hoops to get to where they were, versus like a lot of us from the Midwest, we just, went to the university because that's what we have to do at that time. We graduate, high school, you go to university. but these people had to like go through scholarships and they had to, yeah, just do a lot of hard exams, and so I think they had maybe more of a maybe interesting perspective,
Mhm.
and just the world like interested me so much, and when I started learning a foreign language, Spanish, I just felt like there's so much out there to see, to explore, and what really fascinates me is the different mindsets.
Mm.
So meeting these international students, they just have a different way of seeing the world. And I tell people it's almost like Avatar. You're like, it's like, yeah, it's just a different mindset, different perspective. So I wanted to get that for myself too. I wanted to kind of see the world in a different way.
Interesting. I'm seeing a common thread here since I started doing these interviews. A few guests I've spoken to, when I asked them about their backstory and what sparked the initial decision to start traveling and moving abroad, I commonly see now it all started with language learning. So many of my guests told me they started learning a foreign language, and that was almost a gateway that opened up this whole new world for them. And I always say that language is culture in a sense. When I moved to
100%.
China, I noticed there's certain things in Chinese that just can't directly translate to English. So it's just inherently Chinese. And I find that with so many different languages, so just like what you said, different perspectives. And I found that through language learning also. So you went to university, wanted to study Spanish, but first let me ask, why Spanish? What brought about that decision to start learning Spanish?
Well, I guess yeah, I could take you way back. So I was kind of so the language learning thing actually started when I was younger. We have this sort of fake language in well, there's like Pig Latin, but then there's this other language that it's funny, my daycare, I call her my daycare mom. She's basically an aunt. She raised me and my brothers. I mean, when my parents were working and stuff. Yeah, basically another family member. But between them, I don't know why, but they spoke what was called Carnish. So they put e's before every vowel. So they would be talking, they'd be like, we said these, and I'm like, how are they doing it? And like, I couldn't understand it, but they were communicating with each other. And so like how are you would be, he's always are you.
Okay.
And it was just like, wow, that's crazy. And that was like, I think that was when I was really little, and then when I went to high school and they offered Spanish, and then, it's all being like raised where I was, when I was, you always hear about, oh, the Mexicans or Mexico, and it's like this kind of the other side of the border, and you kind of are like, well, what is life like on the other side? And my brother learned Spanish, and we went to Mexico as a family, like a resort, and so got that little taste, and I think that's kind of what sparked it. And then I feel like I was always like, I liked acting and theater. And so when you're speaking a foreign language, sometimes you feel like you're acting. You feel like a different personality almost. So I think I picked it up. I'm like phonetic, so I can like kind of hear how it sounds and imitate it. So I think it was a little bit easy for me. And then when I tested into some college courses, I tested into a high level of Spanish. So I initially started studying acting, and then I shifted my major to Spanish because I thought maybe it'll give me a better job or a better career. Sort of the acting thing kind of was like not as much of a priority. So, but again, I met so many cool people, and when I was learning and speaking Spanish, I felt almost like Avatar, like I'm like a different person, and I think that's what kind of sparked that to like learn that to fluency. Yeah.
You kind of just whispered my next question, which is pretty amazing. When I started learning Chinese, I almost felt like, not that I was a completely different person, but I felt different in a way, like different parts of my personality came out, or I developed a new part of my personality that I didn't know was there when I started learning Chinese. Did you have a similar experience with Spanish or no? When speaking a foreign language, you tap into almost a different part of yourself.
100%. Yeah, because they have a different set of rules, a different set of like I said before, humor, and you definitely tap into a different part of yourself. Like even the way you speak is different. So I feel like yeah, it allowed me to express myself in a different way, and it feels so fake at first. You feel it's funny because we've been speaking English the whole time, and we're not even thinking about it because it's our mother tongue.
Yeah.
So this is like air. You don't even. It's just as real as the coffee in front of us. It's like it's our language, but it's so arbitrary. It's we just speak it because we were taught it when we were little, and when you're speaking a different language, it's like it feels like it's completely fake, but it's real to those people that speak it as a mother tongue. So yeah, I think it takes a while to realize that, for example, everybody learns the swear words.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's always the swear words first. Because I think because they're like packaged, they got so much emotion and they're usually very satisfying to say. So that's always the first thing. But then I remember I was saying to a couple of my friends, like, some swear words in Spanish, like, whoa, like, because I was just like letting them go. And they're like, okay, settle down, and so I was trying to like calibrate that. But yeah, definitely you feel kind of like a different vibe, different personality, I would say.
Amazing. So post learning Spanish in university, what sparked the idea to actually move abroad? I'm not sure how it is in America. So where I'm from in England, we take holidays all the time. It's very normal for us. Europe is right on our doorstep, so we're not strangers to taking holidays. But not many people make the decision to move abroad. Is it similar in the States where people take frequent holidays abroad or not so much? The reason I ask is because I know America is massive. So with taking holidays, you have so many different geographies you could go to within America to see something different. So is that something that people do in America, taking holidays abroad?
Yeah, so the last time I checked, 65% of Americans don't even have a passport. But it's like you said, it's very big. It's you've got Florida, California, Texas, Alaska, New York. It's so much to see. There's so much nature. Just a vast country of so many things. And then those I think that do travel, do like you said, they go to maybe Mexico for a weekend getaway or a week getaway, maybe Cancun or Puerto Vallarta. Because that's an easy 2-3 hours, and then you're in a tropical area, especially coming from Minnesota where it's cold. You want to get out of that. But yeah, a lot of people go down to Arizona, down to Florida, down to Texas. They don't need to cross the border or anything like that. But as far as living abroad, yeah, I don't actually know the percentage of Americans that choose to live abroad, especially crossing the ocean. So yeah, I would agree with you and say that most Americans that do travel, they travel maybe to Mexico, maybe Canada, maybe the Caribbean, but not so much Europe, or if they do go to Europe, it's usually because they have more of maybe they like history more, they want to learn about the past and stuff. But yeah, I don't think many of them are choosing to live abroad. So what sparked that in me was it was through the Amity program, I think it was called.
Amity program.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's what the name was. And basically there were teachers' assistants in college. There was like, a girl from France, a guy from France, a girl from Spain, a guy from Argentina. They would help the language professors teach with conversation. So people that were learning French, they could speak to the French girl and more conversation. But these guys were cool. They would like invite us to parties, house parties. So you get to know them, and I'm just like thinking, like, I'm looking at them like they're living here. Like they are actually having this deep experience here that's like not this superficial thing. Like they're integrating themselves. They're seeing like what life is like in this small town of Wisconsin. And I'm just thinking, what would that be like where they come from? Like that would be so amazing. And my girlfriend in college was from Colombia, so I got to visit her family and stuff like that. And but it was just like, yeah, this desire to see the world from a very deep perspective, not just like a couple photos and go home. You know what I mean?
I do. That's the saving spirit you was talking
Yep.
about. It's
Yeah.
always been within you.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, when I was little, so this is like the origin story of it. So for us in southern Minnesota, the best thing is like up north, we call it northern Minnesota. Minnesota is the land of 10,000 lakes, so we have so much nature, so many lakes, and people, my father, for example, canoes from one lake to the next. There's this whole area where there's no houses, nothing, it's just wilderness. And the water's so pure, you can drink from the lake. And yeah, so you just paddle, and then you take your stuff, you take your canoe, and you go to the other lake, and you just repeat this process. But up north is so beautiful, so many trees. You got Lake Superior, and I used to go with my grandpa. We visited my great grandparents up there. They had like a log cabin. And one day I told my grandpa, I was like, Grandpa, I must have been like burned out with school, and I was in elementary school, so I don't know. But still, you have a lot of stress with like, that was actually during a time where they were giving us a lot of exams in the U.S. A lot of the kids had these like exams, so I was burned out maybe as a little kid. I said, Grandpa, let's go up north to northern Minnesota. Let's throw rocks in Lake Superior and never come back. And so he like basically picked me up one day. Hey, we're gonna go up north, and took me out of school, and we went for like a couple days. So I always had that wanderlust, that need to be in a beautiful place and to just enjoy it, And I think that was always it within me. Yeah.
I definitely relate. Since I was a child, I've always been drawn to stories of adventure. Ever since I was young, I love pirate stories, adventure stories. And I remember I had an auntie one time, she was from Nigeria, and I never understood what she meant when I was a kid. She always used to say to me, Ramel, you're a pioneer, you're a pioneer. As a child, I had no idea what that meant. But growing up now, it kind of makes more sense to me. She said that because since I was young, I was always the kid who always asked about travel, always asked about the world. My geography was really, really good in school. I just knew so many countries that people didn't even know about. So I definitely can relate to that. But what I want to know next is, why Spain? Of all the places in the world, why Spain?
Yeah. So there was a professor that came to speak at my last year in college, and because I had this idea of living abroad, and I studied Spanish, and yeah, there are many countries in South America and North America, so a lot to choose from. But having learned Spanish, and then this professor came, and she started. So it was actually the professor of my professor that came and visited from Spain. She was American, but she was like a translator and interpreter, and she was talking about her students, and she was saying like, oh yeah, I have a student that lives on the island of Seychelles, like in Africa, and like he surfs, but he works online. So I was like, oh, I could work online, and then, but I really wanted to be in a Spanish-speaking place, and she told me about a program in Spain called Cultural and Language Assistance. So basically, you teach part-time, and they give you like a visa to stay for long term, and then you get your foot in the door if you want to work and stuff like that. But basically, Spain at first didn't call to me so much because I thought it's a lot, I wanted to be more in like, not like a wild area, more not so structured and so European, and so, but Spain, I never went there, and I wanted to go, and it's close to other countries, and I also thought it would be beautiful, and it's also very safe. So I thought, I can do this program, I can teach English, and I can live abroad, and I can use my Spanish, and I can hop on a plane and go to France, I can hop on a plane and go to Germany. Like, that for an American is like huge, like to be able to go to a foreign country in an hour, like that's so cool. So I think it was the combination of proximity of so many other places, and also the safety and security, and I think the Spanish language. Because I was also interested in like learning about the Spanish culture and language, and I had like sort of a stereotype before, like think, oh, they think they're the best, like yeah. So I mean, there's people that do, but like I wanted to get past that and to see like what is life like over there, and yeah.
How was it adjusting to speaking Spanish in Spain? as opposed to learning in America? Because I know you have so many different Spanish-speaking countries across the globe,
Yeah.
and the Spanish is so different in all these different countries. So I never told you this before. My dad is actually Dominican.
Okay.
Yeah, he's Dominican, pero no me enseño español.
No.
Así que tuve que aprendo con mí mismo. Yeah, I had to teach myself. So my Spanish isn't the best, but I know a little bit.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So in Dominican Republic, they speak very fast.
Yeah.
Continental Spain, it's also very fast. How was it adjusted? You said your girlfriend was Colombian, and I know that Spanish is very different from continental Spanish. How was it adjusting to the language once you got there?
That's a very good question. My girlfriend in college was Colombian, and we separated a long time ago. But now my girlfriend is Spanish. But as far as the difference, I came to Spain with a Colombian accent,
Okay.
and that was really funny for Spanish people. Like my roommate was like laughing at me because I would say words that I guess you don't say in Spain. Like my accent was so different. He's like, it's so funny. You're an American, but you have a Colombian accent. Like, you don't say this, you don't say that. And I was really like, I mean, I was like 21 at the time, and I came with this whole thing of like, Spanish people think they're better than the other Spanish speakers, so I was like I didn't want to speak like a Spanish. Like my roommate's like, you speak very well, but if you want to speak better, you have to speak with our accent, which is like gracias. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that, and like trying to fight it because I thought it was like sounded so pretentious, you know. But then I thought, when in Rome, do as the Romans do, and this is how people speak here, and so I just adapted, but. Yeah, it was really hard at first because the Dominican accent is very open, very
expressive.
Yeah. In the south of Spain, it's similar, and that's where I was living. So it took a while to adapt. There are certain phrases that I didn't know, but I think the takeaway for maybe your viewers is, wherever you go, that's where you have to adapt, and don't be so judgmental because it might sound better or worse or whatever, but that idea of where am I and how can I adapt to my environment. And so I would say that it took me probably a year, maybe that school year, to sort of change my accent. I would say about a year. And now there was a moment where I came full circle, and I said like, I saw a Cuban guy in the US once, and I said like gracias, and I said like with the th, and I was like, oh man, I didn't even think about it now. Like the accent changed, So I think it's about being receptive, adapting to the environment, and if you're, for example, you're living in Vietnam and you want to learn the language, like okay, learn kind of where you're at and that dialect, and if you move, I guess learn a different one, So
100%. You've been in Spain for a good amount of years now. I see so many paths that expats take when they move abroad. Some just come for maybe 6 months, a few short years, some more long term. With you being in Spain for a good few years, at what point did you realize I want to live here? So you went there for the language program. When did you decide, actually, I want to make this home now?
That's an interesting question. So my first year, it was all honeymoon. So if you're watching this and you haven't lived abroad, I mean, we can both say like, it's a lot like falling in love. You go to a place and it's like everything is amazing. I woke up like, this is my life. This is real. I look out my window. There's a Roman aqueduct. I'm like just in awe. And so that's the honeymoon phase. Then. The first year was like that. Then the second year I lived in a like right by the ocean, and I also met she was American, and that was my girlfriend at the time. But so it was kind of like I had these ups and downs. It was 2 years in Spain, 3 years, and then I moved back with my partner at the time. But I think that was when I realized, and there were some things with my ex-girlfriend that pushed us apart, but one of them was the fact that like I think she was okay with kind of okay, we'll stay in the Midwest and we'll do life here. And I loved my life so much in Spain, so much. I mean, I could just walk everywhere. Things were cheaper. It seemed like there was more people around. I could talk socially. I felt much more enriched. I felt like there's so much life in the streets, and the quality of life is so high. And I miss my family. That's the biggest thing being abroad. But I think that was when I knew, like, yeah, when you kind of leave your country and you see and you live life elsewhere, when you go back, you really notice the differences, and you know that there's another way of life that's possible. So I think that was when I was like, no, I really like my life there. Because when I was back in the U.S. and I was trying to like do the real life thing, I just felt like caged, and I felt like my life in Spain was a dream and it never happened, and it was so good. And so yeah, I thought, I really have to move back. And so we broke up, my ex and I, but one of the things was I just needed to go back to Spain. I just felt like so at home there. So that's kind of what, yeah, moving back to the U.S. and then seemed like, and again, I didn't necessarily explore all areas of the U.S. But I think it was just that dynamic of being able to teach English and earn a living with that as well, and it just seemed like a lot of the things in life were better in Spain.
I love the way you put it when you say when you first move abroad, it's a lot like falling in love. I've never described it that way, but I absolutely agree with that when I think about my own experiences going to China, to Korea, now living in Vietnam. Like we're falling in love, you have the honeymoon phase.
Yeah.
And then after that, you get through the phase where you're just living the day to day. A lot of guys message me on Instagram and they ask questions. They're really interested in moving abroad, whether it be from the States or from the UK. I often try to explain, especially for the guys in the UK, living somewhere and taking a holiday is very different.
Yeah.
Often when you take a holiday, it's like the honeymoon phase.
Yeah.
But when it comes to living, figuring out the bank account, figuring out just your day-to-day life is very different. How would you describe the difference between being somewhere temporarily on a holiday versus actually setting up life there? What are some of the challenges and some of the pros in your experience?
Wow, yeah, that's interesting. I think that the difference, you kind of described it too, yeah, if you're just traveling for holidays, um, it's more superficial. I mean, superficial in the sense that you're not going so deep, you're on the surface. And a lot of what you see is just what they want you to see. It's kind of like going to a theme park or something. It's not so, yeah, it's not so deep, it's not so authentic. As far as like the struggles and the challenges, I think it's dealing with, like I told you one time we were talking, that human beings need novelty and familiarity.
Yes.
And sometimes when we are looking for that novelty, we want more and more, and we have to balance that out, because life can't always be just new things, adventure all the time, in my opinion. I think you also need that stability, that familiarity. And so you deal with kind of the up and down of your own sort of novelty in your head, because when you're going to the same places, you're doing the same things, you start to build this routine abroad, then the novelty eventually goes down, just like a relationship. So maybe dealing with that, you don't want to necessarily always be chasing that super high of like everything is new and stuff. Being at peace with when you do have sort of a cultural clash, if something that you're used to isn't there, like whether it's food or some custom, to be able to be patient with yourself, patient with the other people, with the situation. I think it definitely teaches you, I think it kind of puts life on fast forward in a sense, or hyperdrive, because you just have to learn so much in such little time. And I think that's what's also interesting about it, because it's like a little kid. Little kids, 4 or 5-year-olds, they're looking at everything, they're touching everything, because everything is new. Their novelty is so high. So everything, you tell them, you do a silly thing and they laugh so hard because it's so new. And I think that's what adults, we kind of are missing, We I think college is like that last time where society allows you to just have fun and go free, and then but when college is done, all right, time to be a machine, time to be a cog. It's like no, I still am a human being. I still need that novelty, you know. So I think that's important to find that and have a healthy balance with it, but also to be okay when things are they kind of calm down, and yeah, to know that when you are living abroad, you're going to deal with so many different things, and it will help you grow as a person. And you're also needing to connect with such different people, such different people. So you have to figure out what is my common ground with this person. How can we connect? And it's sort of it's a path where if you want to take that path, you're leaving behind. Well, you're kind of you're not a local as far as like you're not from Vietnam or you're not from the place that you're living. So you're not going to be like 100% local, but you're also not a person that is has stayed in your hometown. So you walk this sometimes like you're onto like a pioneer. You walk your own path, and you're not from here or from there in a sense. So you kind of deal with that as well. Like, oh wow, I've been out of the UK for so long, so you don't experience things that maybe they experienced there, but at the same time you weren't born here. So dealing with that too, of like sort of that identity of like who am I, and yeah, sometimes that existential question of like, yeah, where do I belong and stuff like that.
I'm still navigating that myself
Yeah, yeah.
right now. So before we move on to how you ended up here in Vietnam, it's something you said I want to touch on. A quick question. You said you knew you didn't want to be a cog in the machine. So with that said, I wanted to ask, do you see yourself ever living in America again? If so, why yes? Or if not, why no?
So 5 years ago, I would have said probably not. Like, yeah, but now I will say yes because the people do make the place, and kind of connecting this with the novelty familiarity thing. I think going back to the U.S. there was a lot of familiarity, and being with family obviously is familiarity. But yeah, I have like a little niece now, and I get to meet her next month, and just wanting to be around my parents. You know, time flies when you're having fun, and I've had fun for the past like 10 plus years. So I'm like, oh my god, I've been doing this for over 10 years now. And you know, people get old, your parents get old, people start having kids, getting married. Like, whoa, this is going fast. So yeah, it's like calibrating that familiarity and novelty. And I think the cool thing will be finding the novelty in what I consider familiar. So I think my little channel, I call it Ross the Flaneur. Flaneur is a man that wanders around and observes society. So I like to consider myself, I like spontaneity, I like improvising, but I've also found that when you plan, it helps a lot, you know, not always, but it's good to have a plan, good to have an idea. And I think now that I'm 35, I'm thinking of a plan, so what it's looking like for me is probably the next 5 or so years, I'll be based in Spain, and then after that, probably at least sometime in the U.S. Just because the main reason is family. I mean, I miss certain places, I miss certain things, but I just really want to be around my parents and brothers and yeah, niece and. But I now have family in Spain too. So, but my girlfriend's family, her parents are a little older, and so we're trying to navigate that together. But I would say if I do go back to the U.S., it will probably be not for long term, probably for about 5 years. I would say, yeah, that would be my guess.
You truly are a flaneur. I've never heard that word before, but I like it. A man of the world. Nowhere's home and everywhere's home at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, the concept, like, so the flaneur, sometimes it's like they're just observing society, but I do like to add that extra element of integrating. I don't think I'm like above the others. I don't think I'm like some special guy. So I like to integrate as well. But I do love this idea. I mean, I'm sure you've had many experiences with this of just wandering around, getting lost in the city, and bumping into, I don't know, coming to this really cool cafe or restaurant that you never would have found. Or and I think there is something to that. We're taught so much to just plan everything, to just have everything structured, and I think being abroad, especially in a place like Vietnam, it forces you to improvise. I mean, just going out and about in the streets in the motorbike, you gotta improvise. Like, okay, I don't drive here, but uh, I think being here allows you to improvise a lot more. I like to say the heart makes her home in spontaneity. I don't know why, but I just love that. But then, yeah, the structure and the planning also has its place.
I agree. When I first came here, one of the things, actually, now that I think about this, I think I've done this in every country I've lived in. One of the things I really love to do when I move to a new country is either to go for long walks,
Yep.
or go for a run. Allow myself to get completely lost. I'll
Yeah.
go as far as I can, and then once I'm completely lost, I'll book a grab or a taxi back to my address. So, like you said, the spontaneity, allowing myself to get lost. And with that being said, so guys, as you know, we're currently in Vietnam, Danang, Vietnam. Ross, you said you've never been to Asia prior. So living in Spain for all those years, what made you think, okay, let me explore Asia, and why specifically Vietnam?
Wow, yeah. So I think that novelty was calling, that sailor's heart. I had been in Spain now for over 10 years on and off, and it's become familiar to me. And I'm so grateful for my life there. I love my life there, and my girlfriend, and she's very supportive of me being here. A lot of people were weirded out. They're like, wait, you're going to Vietnam? So did you break up with your girlfriend? No, no, we're together. We're good. We're good. But she understands that I have this sort of, yeah, sailor's heart, yeah. And because I joke because I met her in Spain, so it's like I would have never met her if she was like me, or if I was like her, because she would have been living in the UK, in the US. She would have been, out of her hometown, because she's from the hometown, like from where I live in Spain. So she never really left, and I would have never met her if I was like her, because I would have been in my hometown in Minnesota. So we recognize this difference, this nuance. But as far as like what made me come to Asia, what made me come here, without getting too deep for your followers, as far as coming to Asia, like I said before, it was just so vastly different, and I really wanted to get that perspective of out of the West, I mean, I'm grateful for where I'm born, but I wanted to live in a place that was not like this big empire or this big, like outside of that whole like Western mentality. And what's inspired me, well, I heard about Vietnam many times. I've heard from people that have traveled all over. Many times it's come up for people as being like their favorite place. And they're like, okay, wow, interesting. And then I heard it was very affordable and safe. And as far as their history goes, you're talking about an area that has sort of resisted colonization from the Chinese, from Japanese, from the French, from the Americans. They've just fought again and again and again. They're so resilient, and then I hear about them being very welcoming and hospitable, and so I just thought from a social perspective, like what does that look like? How does a people operate and live? Because I think each group, each culture has something to offer, something to bring, and we live in a time where it's like people like to say we're all the same. I think we're all equal, but I don't think we're all the same. Like we're different. Like there are different cultural norms in different places. Like whether you like it or not, And it's not saying that one is better or worse, but there is variety. So, and I think that with the same thing with mentality. So I wanted to see what would life be like in an area that it's not like it's away from the West in a sense of like there's still like McDonald's and there's still things here that you can get back in the UK or the US. It's not. But I wanted to see like what is an area of the world that has this sort of resilience and resistance, but still this hospitality and this kindness towards people. What is that like? What is that like? What would that be like to be around, and what can I learn from that? And that would be like the sociological, anthropological perspective with it. But then I guess I've just heard it's so nice and it's this tropical, beautiful region of the world, and I think there's a reason why it's been invaded so many times because everybody wants, some of the land or some of the, this fertile.
Very fertile.
Yeah,
It's one of the things I first noticed when I first came here. It's so green and everything grows here.
Yeah, yeah. You don't invade a desert, so there's a reason why all these civilizations again and again and again are trying to come and conquer this area. But yeah, and then the funny thing is, I kind of came and I studied up on they call it the American War, but over there they call it the Vietnam War. And I've seen documentaries and studied a little bit of that, and read some writings from like Ho Chi Minh and stuff. But I was stunned by the fact that even back then, they weren't against the American people. They were just against like the government, the military that was invaded. So they were very, and I just thought like, in today's world, so much conflict, so much strife, so much heated debates, and you've got a area of the world that has suffered unimaginable tragedies and nightmares. And they have just this neutral, friendly, very transparent way of dealing with people. Like I heard just recently that, I don't pay too much attention to the news, but I heard like with certain conflicts going on, they were like opening up and saying like, hey, people from both sides can come and live in Vietnam if they want. Like this sort of olive branch of, but then living here, I saw that, people don't get into sort of heated discussions, it's very neutral. Mm-hmm. So it made me kind of more neutral and just enjoy life here and that's been really refreshing living here.
Respect. Is there anything about Vietnam that stole your heart? Like a little treasure of Vietnam that will stick with you when you go back to Spain?
The thing that comes to mind instantly, because I love observing the people. So how do the people act? One of the things that's so refreshing here is you just can be you a lot more. You don't have to put on these airs and be fake, and everybody's just kind of doing their own thing. Whether you're talking about going to a restaurant, cafe, or getting a Grab driver, everybody's just doing their own thing. They're not like performing, and you can just relax and be you. I mean, I've seen all kinds of foreigners here walking their dogs, young families, and they're just doing their own thing. And like, it's so interesting to see because it's not like the local culture has absorbed that and made it there. Like there is some sort of, like, what do you call it, gentrification or whatever, but they're maintaining their culture. You can see elderly people on a bike with, a bunch of bananas in the back or something like that, or they're carrying whatever. You can still see that. The culture is maintained, but they're also very welcoming to other cultures. And where I live in Spain, sometimes there's a clash. I think for different reasons, but there's just sort of this welcoming of foreigners. So you feel welcome, but I wasn't hounded by the locals. You feel free. You can just be you. Nobody cares. Like, I think that kind of stole my heart. Because I mean, what is more important than being able to express yourself in a free way? I mean, I met this guy. He's from Russia, and he paints his face like Kiss or like a metal rock singer. And he goes to these karaoke, and he's like, just like, and people are just like, woo, cheering him on. It's like, wow, the dude's just doing him, and people are okay with that. So I think that's what stole my heart, this sort of calm acceptance of being who you are.
Respect. Ross, before we wrap up, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on today, sharing your experiences and your stories. Honestly, you have an amazing story, and I'm really grateful that you came to share it with us today. So I know you have your own channel as well. Could you just tell them a little bit about what you do and where can anyone find you?
Yeah, well, thank you, Ramon, for interviewing me and allowing me to have this opportunity to share the story. And Yeah, my channel is called Ross the Flaneur. It's YouTube. Mostly I have Instagram too, but I try to get the local perspective. I try to interview the local people, but I'm also interviewing people like you that have left the UK, the US, and started lives elsewhere in the world. So you can check out that link. And if you like culture and language and local perspectives and more of a I try to make it more spontaneous and improvised, but real stories of people from all over the world. You can check it out below. So
Respect. I'll be sure to drop that link once I release this. So, guys, there we go with another episode of Making It Abroad. And like I always say, know yourself and be yourself. And I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.